The time has finally come. Blue Jays, Dodgers, World Series. What are the keys to a Blue Jays World Series victory?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Man, I'm pumped. I am excited. It's here. Something that feels like, I don't know. We had like a couple days off baseball, and it seemed like the longest few days of my entire life. I've been itching to see some good Blue Jays World Series baseball, and we're here. It's finally upon us, and we have to talk about what the keys are to a Blue Jays World Series, to a victory here. There's been a lot of conversations going around online. Can the Blue Jays do it? How much of a chance do they have? And we talked a little bit about that a few days ago, about the whole David Goliath story. We'll have to see. Again, I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited, and I think this team does have what it takes to get a win. We'll talk about Bo Bichette a little bit as well. Bo Bichette taking some reps at second base. A little wild, but we'll talk about it. As well, some Silver Slugger nominations, another award for Ernie Clement coming in. We'll talk about all that in the second segment, and we'll for sure tee up game one here in the third. So lots to come on this episode. As always, I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Wasco. Carter First too as well. Main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already here on YouTube. You guys have been killing it. Keep it going. Leave us your comments on everything we talk about today. We want your opinions on what some keys should be for the Toronto Blue Jays to come out on top in this World Series. Carter, my man, I'll set you up for it. I know you got some statistics for us. You might as well jump right in, because this is what should lay the groundwork for a Toronto Blue Jays victory, or give us a more inside look at what can go right for this team.
Yeah, we're going to start it off with some comparables, just very general comparables, like off the offense, so hitting, and then I got some starting rotation stuff, and then I got some bullpen stuff as well. So as we know, the Toronto Blue Jays offense, one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in all of baseball. You look through the Dodgers lineup, again, they have a lot of very good players, obviously. Like even just looking at the top of their lineup, probably going to be Shohei Ohtani, and then Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman. Continue to go down the list. Teoscar Hernandez might be hitting 6, and that's ridiculous in its own sense. So we know how good their lineup is. But in terms of the playoffs, just looking at some of the side-by-side stats, what the Blue Jays have done up to this point and what the Dodgers have done, the Toronto Blue Jays have them in batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, more home runs, a better K rate. The Dodgers do have a better walk rate and have one more stolen base. The Dodgers have 2 stolen bases throughout the playoffs. The Jays have 1 stolen bases. Probably won't really play a factor unless you're Alejandro Kirk in a World Series. But then you got weighted on base averages, the Jays, and then weighted runs created plus as well as the Jays. And it's not just by a little bit. Like the average is 296 for the Jays, 256 for the Dodgers. I won't go over all of these, but slugging is 523 for the Jays, 430 for the Dodgers. The Jays have 20 home runs. The Dodgers have 13. This is going to be a big one throughout the series. I said the strikeout rate, 14.8% strikeout rate for the entire Blue Jays team. For the Dodgers, it is 23.7. It's not a bad strikeout rate for the Dodgers. That just goes to show how elite the Toronto Blue Jays are at putting the ball in play, not striking out, and just putting pressure on the defense. Whereas if you look defensively as well, you probably got to give the Toronto Blue Jays the advantage as well. The Dodgers aren't a bad defensive team necessarily, but we've seen Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield. We've seen how that can go. You look at the infield, like you have Andres Gimenez for us at shortstop. Mookie Betts is still very good, but he's not Andres Gimenez. And so overwhelmingly, it's the Toronto Blue Jays offense. It looks like has the advantage, but you have the experience. It is still pretty close when you look offensively, but I would give it to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now we look at the starting rotation, and this one is all Los Angeles Dodgers. Who would have thought? This is one of the best starting rotations that I've ever seen in my entire life. the Seattle Mariners starting rotation is very good. Like George Kirby's unbelievable. Logan Gilbert, very good. Luis Castillo, still very good. I mean, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller, we saw that's their 5th starter and how good he can be. But the Dodgers, again, different animal. Blake Snell, I mean, probably a Cy Young winner, possible Cy Young winner, at least in contention. If he's healthy this year, you got Tyler Glass now. Shohei Ohtani's their 4th pitcher. Yamamoto as well throughout that starting rotation. So I'm going to go over, again, a few stats here, but like the ERA, it's a 1.40 ERA for the Dodgers, a 3.33 ERA for the J starters. Whip of 0.75 for the Dodgers, 1.17 for the Jays. Quality starts, the Dodgers have 8. The Jays have a bunch of, 5 2/3 starts, but not quite that quality start at the 6 innings. They only have 1. Strikeout rate for the Dodgers, 33.5. For the Jays is 26.5. The walk rate, the Dodgers have. Home runs to fly ball rate, the Dodgers have. XFIP, the Dodgers have. Sierra, the Dodgers have. Sierra, the Dodgers have. The Dodgers pretty much have everything it goes for the starting rotation. In terms of starting rotations, no matter who it was going to be against, the Dodgers starting rotation was simply just going to be better. Now we go to the bullpens. Let's be honest, both bullpens aren't the greatest. Like both bullpens have their guys. Roki Sasaki has been very good. Jeff Hoffman's been very good. We have Louis Varland. We have Seranthony Dominguez. They have Blake Trinan, who hasn't been great. Alex Walks, who has been good, but he probably won't be there at least the first few games for that Dodgers lineup. Anthony Banda, familiar face, but in terms of the bullpen, the Blue Jays bullpen has been slightly better. They have been slightly better in almost every single stat, like whip, BABIP, K percentage, ball percentage, or walk percentage. I won't go into all of those, but the Jays do have a slight advantage in the bullpen. So what it's going to come down to is the advantage that the Toronto Blue Jays do have offensively going to be enough to put to match up against the disadvantage that they have throughout this starting rotation. So that's really going to be the storyline that we're going to have to go through over this series. But Brayden, there's a bunch of different game narratives that we have, a bunch of different keys to the Toronto Blue Jays winning over the Los Angeles Dodgers that we do want to go into. So I'll throw it back over to you after, the dumping I just had of stats there. So hopefully that wasn't too much for you guys. But Brayden, throw it over to you for the keys to the series.
Yeah, so number one for me, it's get to these starting pitchers early. And that is not necessarily you have to score a ton of runs on these guys. It's going to be hard to do that. What I'm talking about is battling in at-bats, fouling off pitches, having long at-bats, getting that pitch count up, getting these guys out of the game. If these guys are having success, it's not like they're going to come out at 80 or 90 pitches. They're going to go 100. They're going to go 110, maybe more than that.
Like Snell might throw like 140.
Yeah, so you got to work these guys. And number two, the Dodgers haven't really blown anybody out of the water. Their offense hasn't been that explosive. I go back, Carter, and look at the games of the past few series. 5-1, 3-1, 5-1, 2-1, 2-1. They lost 8-2, 4-3, 5-3, and then so over the past two series, there hasn't been that blowout victory for the Dodgers. They haven't killed you offensively. They've just allowed nothing. So the starting pitching group, hopefully they can get in a rhythm, keep the runs to a minimum, and let this offense battle and work and try to get to that bullpen. And if you have to put up runs late in ball games, that's my number three. Be ready to go late in ball games. It's going to be close. You can't be defeated because when you get to that Dodgers bullpen, that's where this team can really take advantage. That's where the bats can come alive. So this, I guess it's sort of 3/4. 4 is don't get down mentally. You can't look defeated on the diamond. There's a few times the Blue Jays against Seattle looked like, oh, we're just done. We're out of this game. And even in Game 7, they look that way. George Springer hits that moon ball, and it sort of brings everybody back to life, as it should. It's unbelievable home run. But the team sort of looked a little defeated. You can't let that happen against the Dodgers because they have a weaker bullpen. You can take advantage of that. So a lot of things there, Carter, but the main point that I take away from all of this is that the offense hasn't been clicking like Dodger fans probably expected it to. Yes, they're still good. Yes, they still have a ton of weapons. But if you look back over the last few games, there hasn't been that blowout. So don't expect there to be a blowout. Don't give them that opportunity. You have to go in like this team has done all season long, come from behind wins. That might have to be the game plan in a lot of these games. And this team is okay by doing that, but you can't get low mentally.
See, one thing, like you did bring up a good point that the Dodgers haven't really gone off offensively, but we look back, especially at the NLDS and just at the pitchers that the Dodgers were facing. These are predominantly left-handed pitchers. Jesus Luzardo, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, all dominant left-handed starting pitchers. That's why Shohei Ohtani, other than obviously the Game 4 against the Brewers, he's kind of been limited throughout this entire playoffs. Like we didn't really hear a lot about Shohei Ohtani. Did not look good in the NLDS. Didn't look great in the NLCS either until, obviously later on in the series. but he was predominantly going against left-handed pitching. And you look at those pitchers, Jesus Luzardo, Ranger Suarez, those type of guys. I mean, then you look at the Jays pitchers, Brandon Little, Eric Lauer, Mason Fluharty. I said Justin Brule might be on the roster. If he is or isn't, I mean, I don't want him going against Shohei Ohtani. I will tell you that for free. But you look at the lefties, like they do not compare. Simply, they do not compare to what the Phillies got going. So when you look at Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, and Shohei Ohtani, those three lefties, those are guys that are going to do damage. And it's going to be up to those left-handed pitchers. A lot of the time, I think John Schneider will be throwing Brandon Little, Mason Fluharty. Some of these guys are going to be facing some of these left-handed pitchers, whether we like it or not. It's not going to be a fun time. Like, I'm going to be holding my breath the entire at-bat, but it's something that is going to happen throughout a 7-game series. So it's going to be, limiting the offense because we know how good the pitching is. The runs are going to be tough to come by. You've got to believe in the Blue Jays offense, but it's about again, it's such a hard thing to talk about. It's such an easy thing. I guess it's such an easy thing to talk about, a hard thing to demonstrate on the baseball field. Cause it's a lot easy to say, oh yeah, don't let the, the Dodgers hit home runs. But then when you look at their lineup and it is Shohei Ohtani, Betts, and then you look at number 5 or 6 and it is Teoscar, and you got Tommy Edman down there, Kike Hernandez, who's hitting 300 and he's hitting in the 8th spot. So it's a lot easier said than done. But the offense, hopefully don't let them catch any sort of fire. Hopefully keep them a little bit more dormant than you would expect them to be with the amount of talent that they do have on paper. You went over a ton of different keys to the game as well. You talk the way I want to look at this with the starters in the bullpen, it's almost like it's 2 different baseball games. That's
exactly it. Yep.
You got the starting pitchers, no matter who it is, because they're all good. That it's going to be runs are going to be tough to come by. So you're not exactly again, we would love to see a 6 spot or a 5 spot or a 3 spot, whatever it ends up being. But like you said, it's about working the count. It's about getting them out of the baseball game and getting to get to the Dodgers bullpen, especially early on in the series. Because a lot of these guys are going to have to pitch a second time. If you can make them throw, 100, 110 pitches, or even just get them out early in the 3rd or 4th inning, that's going to give you more opportunities against the bullpen arms who aren't as good. And hopefully you can tire out some of those starting pitchers early on in the series. You're going to have to foul pitches off. You're going to have some very tough takes. There's going to be times that it's going to be battles in that batter's box, and they're going to have to fight. So that's going to be a huge key for me, is especially what you said, and I'm glad you just said it first, is that they're going to have to get their starters out as soon as possible. The offense, again, it's going to have to be the offense. You're going to need Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to show up. You're going to need George Springer to show up. You're going to need Bo Bichette, if he does play, to show up as well. But then the little guys, the one advantage that the Toronto Blue Jays do have offensively is that the 6 through 9 guys in the Blue Jays order throughout the playoffs have been a whole lot better than the Dodgers 6 through 9 guys. And the Dodgers 6 through 9 guys haven't necessarily been bad either. Like I said, Kike Hernandez is down there. Tommy Edman's been down there, and they've all been very good. But you look at the Jays, Alejandro Jimenez had 2 home runs in the ALCS. IKF hit 300 almost in the ALCS. Kind of ridiculous stuff there. Ernie Clement's been at the bottom of the order. Addison Barger's been at the bottom of the order. So that's another thing too, is the bottom of the order specifically is what I'm going to be looking at. See how they can produce and how they can come up, at least set up the top of the order to do that damage, to come up with those big hits like they've been doing all season long. And then another thing, surprised you didn't bring this up in yours, it's just Shohei Ohtani. How do you deal with Shohei Ohtani? And this is a very obvious one, but a very tough one as well, because you can walk Shohei Ohtani, but then like we said, you're not going against, these scrubs in the middle of the order against the Dodgers. It's perennial superstars. There's guys that have been on MLB All-Pro teams. These are some of the best players in all of baseball. But it's going to be, if there's a base open to Shohei, if there's 2 outs in the inning, just how you pitch to him and how aggressive you are in specific situations, and when you'd be okay with letting Shohei beat you. If you're okay with letting him beat you and hitting a home run with 2 outs or nobody on base, but if there's, runner on 1st and 2nd, or, 3rd and 1st, whatever it ends up being, pitching to Shohei Ohtani and who they throw against Shohei Ohtani as well. Are they going to go with those lefties? Are they going to use best on best? Because we've talked about this a lot with just the circle of trust and not being very big. Chris Bassitt's probably the number 4 reliever in our circle of trust at this point. Not something that I'd be saying at this point, but we're going to have to see how John Schneider does roll out this bullpen against guys like Shohei Ohtani, some of the superstars just in those big moments. So not just Shohei, but in the big moments, who is John Schneider going to go to get those key outs?
And notoriously has been pretty good at it, right? On making those decisions and calls.
Game 5 is still going to be one that, illuminates in people's minds. It's going to be tough, in the left-handed side of things. And that's why I singled out, the Shoheis and the lefties on this team. But in totality, you're going to need your guys to show up. You're going to need more than just your 3 bullpen arms that you kind of got out of the ALCS. You're going to need some guys that you maybe aren't in your circle of trust. You don't trust fully. They're going to have to show up in these big moments.
Absolutely. A lot more to come. We want to talk Bo Bichette taking reps at second base. What does that mean for the lineup? We talked a lot about it yesterday. But, I don't think the main point was, we think Bo Bichette's going to be a second baseman. No, we'll talk about that more. And, of course, the Silver Slugger nominations. Ernie Clement's award and teeing you guys up for game 1 of this series when we return.
Today's episode is sponsored by Rumours. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stressed, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra rest and support. And that's where Rumours comes into play. Rumours offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. This process is so fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So right now, you can visit rugiet.com/lockedonmlb, and don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so that they know we sent you. That is rugiet.com/lockedonmlb. Rumours, stop making excuses and start making moves.
So, Carter, as we continue on, Bo Bichette taking reps at second base. He was also taking a few at first base, probably just in a scenario where a bunt gets laid or the first baseman has to come in and Bo Bichette then tries to run to first to cover some situation like that. Bo Bichette's not playing first base. But second base is a very understandable option. It was something that I threw around to you, Carter, a little bit. We chatted a lot yesterday with Tristan Baranowski about his thoughts on this as well. Best of a bad situation, I guess, right? They want to keep George Springer as their DH or offensive player that they've been calling him instead. So if that means Bo Bichette goes to second, does it eat a little bit maybe on the defensive side of the game? For sure. But it would have eaten you a little bit too if George Springer had to be thrown into the outfield instead of guys like Addison Barger, Nathan Lucas, Miles Straw, those type of guys. So I think Bo Bichette at second base is just something you have to do. Andres Gimenez at shortstop has the range to be a very, very good shortstop, takes a lot of plays away, gives you chances you wouldn't normally have. Now, do I think Bo Bichette is going to be a second baseman the rest of his life? No. He's doing this because he has to. Because this is really the only viable option for this team. And Bo Bichette wants to be in here and wants to be a difference maker. And he's going to be a difference maker with the bat in his hand. That's where Bo Bichette's going to do his damage, not defensively. So this is where you're pushed to, Carter.
This is an interesting situation because we know how important Bo Bichette is to this team. We know how important it is to have Bo Bichette's bat in this lineup. And if he's healthy, you probably would assume that he would have been playing at shortstop already. Why switch something like this up in a World Series? Because it's obvious that Andres Gimenez is the better defensive player. If it was up to all of us, besides if you're not including what Bo Bichette cares about, Andres Gimenez would be the shortstop. Bo Bichette would have been the second baseman at the start of the season because it's Andres Gimenez just that's why he's there. He provides you with that defensive upside. So in a World Series, you don't want the little things to hurt you. Errors hurt you that much more, especially against a Dodgers lineup like this. It would just make more sense to have Andres at shortstop and Bo Bichette at two-bag. But why is Bo Bichette on the team in the first place? Why do we want Bo Bichette in the lineup? We don't want him there for the defense. And if he's going to be at second base, I know it's not he's a shortstop. He's going to second base. It's not that much different, but there is a bunch of little things that you do have to consider. You talked about him covering first base, with balls in the hole between first and second. How do you handle that? Just the flips between shortstop and second. That throw to first base is a little bit different coming from the other side compared to the shortstop, where a lot of your momentum is already going towards that first base. So there's a bunch of little things that you already have to talk about with Bo Bichette, making that transition. And for a player that's not very good defensively anyway, is that another thing you kind of want him worried about in a World Series when you kind of want him there for his bat anyway? So for me, where I'm at is that I would rather have Bo Bichette at the DH spot, let him focus in on his at-bats, because this guy hasn't faced MLB pitching since September 6th. It's going to be hard enough against Blake Snell, against Yamamoto, against Tyler Glasnow. It's all the guys that he's going to be going against. He's not being thrown in against AAA bums. These are some of the best pitchers in all of baseball. So the reason that Bo Bichette, we want him back, is so he can be in the lineup, so he can come in and drive in runs. So I think just throwing him at second base, one, you're putting him in a spot where he has more of a likelihood to get hurt. So that's one thing I don't like. And then you're just putting a lot more on his plate. And is George Springer in the outfield? Is it like really that bad? Like, it feels like they were scared to throw George Springer in the outfield for some reason. I know he's been very good at DH. They want to use him as this offensive player. It's kind of the same idea. Maybe you want George Springer to focus more on his at-bats rather than the defense. But at this point, like, you're throwing injured Bo Bichette. Clearly, he's not fully healthy. It hasn't been released if he's going to even be on the roster at this point. So are we benefiting more defensively from Bo Bichette playing second base and having George Springer as DH? Or are we benefiting more of having Bo Bichette DH, George Springer in right field, and then you can have Nathan Lucas, Malmstrom, whoever it is in left field? George Springer, it's not like, again, he has played outfield this year. It's not this foreign concept to him. So for me, I just think you're playing with a lot of fire if you're going to throw Bo Bichette at shortstop, second base, or anywhere in the infield. Just let him pinch hit or hopefully be a DH or full-time DH throughout the playoffs, because the reason you want him there is for his offense, not his defense.
Carter, sometimes I think that a lot of media and a lot of us, a lot of times, if we bring people on, or me and you are sitting here talking, it's easy to look at analytics and say that, and look at the situation from, sitting on our couch and saying that. The other factor that has to be put into this, which, there's probably a stat out there that tells you some guys can't handle being a DH. Some guys perform better. Some guys need to be in the outfield, in the game at all points, just to keep their mentality into the game. Some guys can't stand sitting on the bench in between innings, and then waiting so long to be involved. And to me, Bo Bichette seems like that type of guy. That's why I didn't love him as a pinch hitter. Yes, he could probably come in and do the job, but I didn't love that. I don't love him being a DH. I wasn't thrilled about that. I think Bo Bichette being in the game, feeling like he's contributing at all points, is something that he needs. And whereas I think George Springer doesn't need that. I think he can be this guy. He's been fantastic as that DH. So I don't know that putting him out there and having him to now go think of something else, it's sort of damn me if I do, damn me if I don't, whatever that saying is as well. Where it's like, if you throw George Springer in the outfield and that comes back to bite you, who do you think gets the brunt of all that? John Schneider. Then you put Bo Bichette at second and something happens there. Who gets the brunt of that? John Schneider. So I think it's two bad options, or I don't even want to say bad options. They're just both unknowns. And that's where we stand. And at some point, if Bo Bichette is saying that, hey, I want to be there and I'll play second, I just want to be playing, then you throw him at second base because you need his bat. You need George Springer's bat. And sometimes you just got to eat it a little bit here. And that's what's happening. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't switch anything. I think that if Bo Bichette's healthy enough to play second base, then okay. If he can't move out there, then that's not good. But I don't think they do that if Bo Bichette just can't move. Obviously, he's got to have some type of mobility that he can get to balls and make stuff happen. Because otherwise, then what's the point of putting him there? Like, just to be a hole at second base. Yes, the little things are going to be tough to pick up. That's part of the game when you switch a position. They believe in this platoon thing, though. That is what this team is built on. And not Bo Bichette, but maybe they're thinking, hey, the rest of the guys can do it. If you're that as good as we think you are, go out there and play just competent second base. We're not asking you to be the greatest defender of all time. Make the easy plays, make stuff happen, and then just drive in some runs. Because against this Dodger starting pitching, you need Bo Bichette and you need George Springer both firing on all cylinders. And I don't know, would you rather have a slightly, you have to play Bo Bichette at second, or would you want IKF's bat in the lineup in comparison to Bo Bichette? So, I don't know. I'm fine with it. I'm good, to be honest with you. I think Bo Bichette would tell you, if he can't move out there and he's doing the hobble, he would say, hey, this ain't going well. You'd be able to see it. So
he wouldn't tell you, but I think you would be able to see it. Like this is what players dream for. Like, this is what they live for, to play in a World Series game. Like, George Springer could be hit by a cement truck at this point. And I don't care how his knee's feeling, he's going to play. The same idea in the ALCS, same idea with Bo Bichette. If you ask Bo Bichette if he's ready to play, it's a World Series. He's going to say he's ready to play. But damned if you do, damned if you don't is the saying you were looking for, by the way. I wanted to throw that in there before I forgot.
Close.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, nice.
We've already established in this podcast. Yeah, sayings and you don't necessarily mix too well, but that's for a later discussion. But this is like where I'm at with the Bo Bichette stuff, is that you say like if he's ready to go, which that's where I'm at. I don't think he's ready to go at all. And I don't think John Schneider thinks he's ready to go either. Schneider literally on Thursday morning said there's still a few more boxes to check, and we're kind of coming right down to the wire with it. That's not good news. Like clearly he is not feeling that good. And I don't like Bo Bichette at second base. Like that's a drastic downgrade from IKF. Let's scrap the offensive stuff of this. Like George Springer in right field. Who would the substitutions be? Nathan Lucas, Addison, Barger, Davis Schneider. I think that you look at that defensively, like that is way more narrow of a gap than IKF to Bo Bichette or Ernie Clement at second base. Like there are some huge gaps that we're having here. And for me, like I just don't see the scenario where Bo Bichette is available. And this is a guy that doesn't have good range to begin with.
Carter, it goes back to what I said though. How does Bo Bichette play as a DH? How does George Springer play as a DH? That's what they're looking at.
I don't think Bo Bichette cares if he's playing at shortstop or not. I think he only cares about hitting. I think that's where Bo Bichette's at, and because that's what he does. That's the player that Bo Bichette is. No, it's not advertised as the defense. I don't think him being out there matters for him.
It's not about the defense though. It's about being involved in the game and being locked in for that long. Some guys don't have that ability. To be honest with you, if that was me and I'm sitting in the DH, I wasn't good at that. I need to be involved. I need to be part, and a lot of these guys need to be a part of the entire game. That's how they stay involved mentally. That's how they prepare for the next thing. George Springer doesn't need to do that. He's actually been better on the opposite end. So it's not, I don't think this is about who's better where, because yes, I 100% agree with you. George Springer is the better option in the outfield rather than Bo Bichette at second base. But for Bo Bichette, for his bat to be as good as you want it to be, I think mentally he's got to be in the field. I think that's where this is going to.
Bo Bichette, again, his bat is important in the lineup, but it's not the end-all be-all. Like, this offense has been successful. I think you're leaving a massive hole here at second base if you have Bo Bichette there. I just think, again, with the quality of defender that he already is, with the amount that he's going to have to learn, with just the amount that's already going against him, and with, like, you want Bo Bichette's bat in the order. That's what you want him to focus on. You don't care necessarily about the defense. You care about the offense. So why not just leave him as the DH and, limit the injury risk, limit everything. I think George Springer's played right field and been successful offensively and defensively at right field. Maybe not as much defensively, but I'm not really buying into like I have to be on the field sort of thing. Like maybe for Vladdy, whatever. Vladdy has this weird thing where he has to hit in the 3-hole too. I'm not sure how convinced I am necessarily with that as well. But I just think that you're really playing with fire if you're leaving Bo Bichette, even like just anywhere in the infield. If it's that short, God forbid if it's that short. I think that's the worst idea of all time. But even if it is at second base, I just think that you're taking a big risk when you could have Ernie Clement, could have IKF, who IKF has been playing good baseball in the ALCS. We have seen that IKF has at least been serviceable for the defensive side. So again, we'll have to see what happens. Is he even capable of playing too? I don't think he is personally. So if he is, it's a different story. Like if Bo Bichette's actually ready to go and healthy and like the management and health advisors have approved that, fine. But I just think that I would be a lot more comfortable with George Springer playing right field and just not having Bo Bichette anywhere defensively.
I agree with you, but I'm fully bought in on the mentality aspect of needing to be out there. A lot of guys play ball, and they'll tell you if they're put into a DH role or a pinch hitting role, they don't succeed because you don't feel like you're a part of the game. And that's not, I need to hit the 3-hole mentality. That's, hey, I have to be in this game. I can't be sitting on the bench for 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40
If you can't get into a game
minutes.
when you're in the World Series, I don't care how long you're spending.
It's not that, though, Carter.
I'm not getting it at all here.
You're missing the point here. It's about the feeling of you're involved, that you are part of every play, about watching every play. Hey, being ready, being on your toes, and then you come off the field into the dugout. I'm still on my toes. I'm still ready to go. You're not sitting down or standing up in the dugout, just sitting there for 2 hours and 47 minutes of a 3-hour game. That's the difference. And I know, other people, when you've played even, I don't even care, like a ball, Carter, I don't care what it is. If you're not playing and you're not playing defensively, what are you doing on the bench? Like, as much as you want to be into the game too, you're sitting there popping seeds, you're chewing gum, you're talking to whoever else. You're not in it. You're not
Again, it's
feeling
different in a
the
World
game.
Series. Again, a random regular season game in the
Sure.
dog days
Okay.
of August for sure. Like it definitely can be different. But I'm just thinking like Bo Bichette, like you can have him at second base, fine, but he could also just be at second base, be involved in the game, and go 0 for 4 anyway. I think there's so much against him. Like, I'm more worried about him not playing since September 6th rather than him, being in the game and worrying about that and his involvement offensively. I think with Bo Bichette, like you already have a lot stacked against you. So I just don't see the risk management with having him at second base. I just don't think that is worth it for the Toronto Blue Jays in the long run.
And I agree with you. I think that he is not as, I think the defensive substitution in comparison to George Springer, but again, it's just if you play ball at any point in your life, that feeling of being the DH or being the pinch hitter or being on the field. It is just different. And for some guys, that really matters. Other guys, no, not at all. So I think we're just going to agree to disagree on this one, because
one thing I will say though is that we have seen like Kevin Gausman, he's been thrown out of the bullpen, Chris Bassitt being thrown out of the bullpen. It's the World Series. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable. You have to be ready to just do whatever the team needs in that moment. So if Bo Bichette, if it's going to fit the team best, that's what John Schneider believes, is he's going to fit the team best at second base, at DH, at shortstop, whatever it may be. That's what he's going to do at this point. It doesn't matter what Bo Bichette thinks. Doesn't matter what Springer thinks. It matters what's going to help the team the most in the long run. And that's how they're going to make the decision, no matter if that is Bo Bichette at second, George or right field, whatever it may be. So we'll have to see. Again, nothing's confirmed. Let us know what you guys think. Maybe you don't even have Bo Bichette on the roster at all. Maybe you have him as a shortstop. Maybe you have him as the DH second baseman. Who knows? Maybe you have him as the center fielder. Let us know where you would have Bo Bichette if he is ready and healthy, or if he's not ready and healthy. See which kind of side you guys are on. We always love in the perspectives that you guys do provide us on this podcast. But Brayden, we did take that one a little bit longer than I know we anticipated. Is there anything else you wanted to get out in this segment before we hit to the third one?
Yeah, just a quick thing here. I didn't want to take this over into what we're going to be the tee up. Ernie Clement wins Fielding Bible Award as he leads the MLB with 22 defensive runs saved. So shout out Ernie, massive, massive win. And I just want to go over some of the Silver Sluggers as well here. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the nominee for the first baseman. Bo Bichette, actually, a nomination for the shortstop. George Springer gets nominated for outfield and the DH as well. They also get into the team Silver Slugger as well. Alejandro Kirk, not an option at the catcher for nomination. Sort of crazy there, but I just want to throw that out to everybody as well.
Yeah, with Alejandro Kirk, like Shea Langoliers, I mean, Cal Raleigh's going to win that, obviously. And Salvador Perez would be the only one that maybe I flop in there. But again, I'm not going to be that mad about like these little minuscule awards. When this team is in the World Series, Alejandro Kirk he's probably got the Gold Glove locked up. And that's the one I more so cared about for Alejandro Kirk, is that people were sleeping on his defense. I think this year he really showed that he is one of the best defensive catchers in the league. But yeah, shout out to Bo Bichette, shout out to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A lot of hardware coming the Toronto Blue Jays way, but nobody really cares about the hardware they're getting if they don't get the big trophy at the end of all this.
Yeah, that's right. We'll take a quick break. We'll tee up the series right after this. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets. That is massive, a massive amount of money. We've seen the $150, we've seen the $200, we've seen the $250. Now it's $300. You can bet on NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, CFL, whatever you want to bet on. There's options. It's fantastic, and it's pretty much free money. So get it while you can. I've been doing really well lately. I got my NFL picks ready to go. I do that every week. I take 3 games, combine them into a same game parlay on the money line. So yeah, or the spread, I guess I should say. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Carter, Trey Savage on the bump, game 1. I'll throw it over to you to kick things off. First of all, we'll get into game prediction, but then after we'll talk, I'll get your series prediction as well.
Yeah, so we got Trey Savage, Blake Snell. The Dodgers have not seen Trey Savage, so that will be something interesting for us to see. I do think we'll still see some whiffs. I do think that Trey Savage will be able to get that swing and miss. The Dodgers do have some swing and miss in their game as well. But yeah, who would have thought that Trey Savage making his 7th MLB start, we making the 7th one on the game 1, the biggest stage in the Major League Baseball, World Series game number 1, the 22-year-old kid going against Blake Snell. Absolutely ridiculous stuff there. Snell, again, unbelievable pitcher, a guy that does have some issues with command at times. So again, we're really going to have to work the count against Blake Snell in this one, whether that is, just leaving pitches off the plate, whether that's fouling off some tough pitches. The Dodgers love to spin the baseball, whether that is Blake Snell, Yamamoto down the line. They threw fastballs 48% of the time in the postseason. That's one of the lower ones out of all the postseason teams in terms of usage. So that's one thing the Blue Jays will have to look at. They've been very successful off the fastball. How do they adjust off of some of these breaking pitches? But yeah, it's something that I'm still I'm getting more nervous as we approach the World Series. Before I was still nervous, but I was more so excited. Now I'm starting, the scales are starting to tip a little bit. Before we were pretty even. Now the excitement's going up a little bit, but I mean, the nervousness is shooting through the roof right now. You look at the betting sites, you look at the odds, it feels like we're playing with house money a little bit. Like, don't want to say that, hey, I'm just happy to be here, which I sort of am, but that doesn't, I still want to win the World Series, obviously. We still have a bigger goal than that. But you look at the Dodgers, look at the experience, let's just play like, there's nothing to lose. And there really is nothing to lose here at this point, other than the World Series. You got here. I mean, not a lot of people have the Blue Jays as their favorites, but hey, I'm okay with embracing the underdog mentality in this one.
I'm going to say it right now, Carter. Me and you talked a little bit before. This ain't going to 7. It's going to end in 6. Which way is it going to end? I think that's interesting. I'm riding with the Jays. I'll say it. I guess Jays in 6 because I said it. This won't be a game 7. I know you sort of talked about it the same way. I think the Blue Jays come out and punch the Dodgers in the mouth game 1. I'm standing by that. I think that's happening. I think Trey Savage is going to have a game. And this team is going to be riding high after game 1. What happens from there, to be determined. I think this team comes out and punches hard. And I think they are going to. The Dodgers, I don't want to say it's been an easy ride, but they haven't had to play 6-7 games every series. So I think the Blue Jays are going to come out and a little bit shock the world. And again, I could be very wrong here. You guys might come back, after Friday and let me hear it. That's fine. I accept that. But that's just, I got to ride with the boys.
Of course, I'm not going to pick against the Blue Jays, in the World Series, but I actually have this going opposite as you. I think Trey Savage will be very good. I think Blake Snell will be even better. I think once Trey Savage comes out of this game, we might have a little bit of trouble, but I have them losing the first game. I'll just say it. I have them winning the second game. They're going to get out of the Rogers Center 1-1. But I feel like Blake Snell will kind of leave this lineup with their hands full a little bit. Just looking at some of these guys like Nathan Lucas, probably still in the lineup. Maybe that one's debatable. But again, lefty there. Daulton Varsho, we know, is nowhere near as good as against lefties as he is against righties. And then Addison Barger probably not being in the lineup. You have David Schneider in the lineup, but didn't play really at all in the ALCS. So that's going to be something up for discussion there. So I just don't love their odds initially with Trey Savage, making his first start. I still think he's good, but I do think that the bullpen is going to give us some things to worry about in the first start here. But game 2, I'm very excited for. I'm very excited for game 1 as well. No matter which way you do it, if you get out of the Rogers Center 1-1 in these first 2 games, I think a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans will be happy.
Yeah, you can't go down 0-2. You can't. You can't hope to battle back like you did against Seattle, against the Dodgers. That cannot happen. You have to keep this series as even as possible for as long as possible. Carter, my man, anything else before we kick out of here for the day? I know there's a lot more we can talk about and that we will talk about over the weekend, as we will have some bonus episodes coming out for you guys as well.
Just last thing with kind of the Trey Savage on the arsenal that he's going to throw. We saw in his last start against the Mariners, threw his splitter more than he ever has in any of his major league starts. Out of that splitter, the fastball, the slider, is there a specific pitch for you that he's going to have to rely on against the Dodgers, or is it just kind of, stick with what has gotten him to this point?
I mean, of course, he needs to throw the splitter. It's got to be good. It's got to be good, work well. But the biggest thing is it has to play off the fastball. So you using the sequencing, using the pitch tunneling, that all has to be major for him. If you see that they're leaving a couple splitters and you've been overusing the splitter, pump a fastball low in the zone, right? It's going to look very similar. They're not going to expect it. Utilize the sequencing of your pitches. Please, God, you do that.
I think the Dodgers' plan against Trey is going to be lay off pitches early. So I always say this, you got to get ahead in counts. I would like him to use the fastball to get ahead, but I don't necessarily love that over the plate. I think you still have to live on the edges. It's not like the tried and true, I have to get ahead here, because you got to be very lenient against a Dodgers lineup. I think the splitter is going to be massive against the lefties. Again, it kind of goes away from them. Shohei Ohtani specifically, I want to see a splitter heavy diet to him. But against the righties, I think the fastball is going to be the pitch. And also the slider as well. It kind of breaks away. A little bit of a weird angle, obviously, with the unique arm angle that Trey Savage does possess. So for me, it's kind of, I guess, all of them. It's all the pitches are obviously going to be used in different situations. Like I said, splitter lefties, fastballs against righties, but how effective he is and what his location is with those specific pitches is going to lead to a very good Trey Savage outing, or maybe one that we won't love talking about. But I'm hoping for the latter. I'm hoping Trey Savage absolutely goes out there and asserts his dominance once again. Because I mean, who would have thought the 22-year-old in his 7th start was going to be the one leading us into battle for the first World Series for the Jays in the last 32 years. Absolutely insane stuff. We will be coming at you guys the entire weekend after every single baseball game of the World Series with a bonus episode. So luckily for you guys, you get a Saturday episode. You're going to get a Sunday episode. And we're kind of rolling right through into the next week. We're really, you're going to our slogan, our tagline, Locked on Blue Jays, your team every day. You're getting it every day for this World Series. Just wanted to say thank you guys so much. We would not be here, not be able to do the things that we do without you guys. And hopefully we report back to you guys after Toronto Blue Jays win in game number 1.